standing for the White Mountains JROTC posting of the colors.
Color guard, fall in. Act, dress right, dress. Ready, run. Aries, colors. Forward, arch.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, fall. Order, arms. Follow.
Please be seated. To begin our assembly, we would like to welcome former school board member, Littleton community member, business owner, parent, and pastor Jim Hannon to the podium for the invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we go any further in our ceremony, would you join me in a word of blessing and prayer over our time today? Heavenly Father and Almighty God, we are so grateful and thankful to be able to gather together like this in this community to celebrate freedom. And most of all, we want to celebrate the men and women who are gathered here, who have stood for, who have served for, and have fought for our freedom. We are eternally grateful. We want them to feel honored in our presence today as we celebrate them. So Father, as we move into this ceremony, would you grant in their hearts and in their minds peace in all that they do. Bless their family members, bless their time. Father, we thank you that we can honor them, and may they know how much gratitude we have. So let them feel a sense of celebration as we honor them. We ask all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Good afternoon, students, teachers, administration, school board members, superintendent and analysts, family and community members, especially veterans. My name is Joe DePalma, and I'm a senior here at Littleton High School, a second-year member and president of the National Honor Society. I'd like to welcome all of you who are joining us as we celebrate and recognize our veterans at this annual Veterans Day Ceremony. It is my greatest honor to welcome these veterans and their guests present with us. The reason that we are here today is because of these brave men and women who unselfishly sacrificed their lives for our freedom. This is a day of remembrance and honor the tireless commitment of the men and women that have served and are currently serving in our armed forces. These veterans who sit before us today have sacrificed everything for us. On this one day, we celebrate their service. Service doesn't yield to fear, doesn't bow down at the point of a gun, but service that perseveres through the most trying of circumstances. Thank you for being here today, so we may honor your bravery, service, and valor, and celebrate everything that you have done for our nation. Thank you.
My name is Lainey Hadlock, and I'm a senior here at Littleton High School and the Vice President of National Honor Society. Veterans Day this year marks a special occasion, the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I on November 11, 1918. Veterans Day, originally known as Armistice Day, was first celebrated in the following year in 1919 to commemorate the one-year anniversary of the end of the Great War. Each November 11th, we Americans remember those who have provided service to our great nation and protection for our country's ideals. We honor veterans of all our armed services, past and present. We would also like to recognize two very special veterans with us today. World War II servicemen, Mr. Perry Goodell and Mr. George McAvoy. Thank you to the veterans present here today for stepping up to preserve our freedom for this and every generation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Naomi Nunes, and I'm a junior here at Littleton High School and a first-year member of the National Honor Society. We are privileged today to have two guest speakers for this ceremony, Chief Paul Smith and Sergeant James Gardner. Sergeant James Gardner graduated from the White Mountains Regional High School before attending Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York on a ROTC scholarship. After he attained his bachelor's in computer science, he was commissioned into the U.S. Army Field Artillery. Overall, Sergeant Gardner served 5 years within the General Army and 5 years in the New Hampshire National Guard and was deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom twice. In July of 2007, he joined the Littleton Police Department, where he is also a certified DARE instructor in teaching children the substance abuse prevention course at the Lakeway Elementary School.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria Thompson. I'm a senior at LHS, and this is my second Veterans Day Assembly with the National Honor Society. I would like to introduce you to our second guest speaker, Chief Paul Smith. Chief Smith graduated from Littleton High School in 1986 and enlisted into the U.S. Army. He attended Central Texas College, pursuing a career in criminal justice. He served as a helicopter crew chief in the U.S. Army Aviation, both stateside and overseas. His assessments included medevac and aircraft recovery. After completing 6 years of active duty, he served with the New Hampshire Army National Guard with the 1,159th Medevac Company for 2 years. Chief Smith joined the Littleton Police Department in 1992 and worked his way through the ranks, serving as a firearms instructor, field trainings officer, and team leader for the Special Operations Team. He currently serves as a member of various alternative sentencing programs for Grafton County. In 2007, he was appointed police chief for the town. He's been recognized for his leadership and dedication and receives the Outstanding Leadership Award in 1998. In 2008, he was selected as Employee of the Year for the town of Littleton. He also is the recipient of the U.S. Congressional Law of Enforcement Award. I'm honored to introduce both of these guest speakers to our ceremony today. Please give a warm welcome to Chief Paul Smith and Sergeant James Gardner.
Good afternoon. Many of the students may know me from DARE classes, which I've been teaching for a few years. And you might also remember from those classes that I can definitely talk for at least an hour. I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit short. All right. My experience in the military started when I was a junior in high school. That year, White Mountains Regional started its JROTC program, and a friend talked me into joining. I actually had to quit band to join, and I think that was probably a benefit to both the band and JROTC, to be honest with you. Although certainly not to the level of my later training in the military, JROTC introduced me to some of the fundamentals of the training I later received. I began learning about self-discipline. I was exposed to opportunities of leadership and public speaking. Apparently, my JROTC instructor saw something in me, because they encouraged me to apply for an ROTC scholarship. I was awarded that scholarship, which enabled me to attend Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and I had to actually look up how to spell that. It's a difficult word to say. It's a school that my family would have never been able to afford otherwise. I continued to train in the basics that I had started in JROTC and was commissioned as a second lieutenant on September 7th, 2001. It was a very eventful week. Once I arrived on active duty, my training and experience really intensified. I'd like to highlight two specific areas where my military experience has prepared me for my career in law enforcement and life in general. The first is self-confidence. The military gave me an incredible boost of confidence. Some of the training is designed to push you past where you think your limits are. I remember spending an entire day working on squad-level tactics training. Imagine spending the whole day playing paintball, except we just had blanks in our rifles instead of paint. In full gear and carrying your backpack with everything you needed to camp for the night. At the end of the day, we were very tired, and we were all dreading the 4-mile ruck march that they had scheduled for us. When we got back to camp, our instructors told us how great a job we did and told us, don't worry about the ruck march, we'll do it a different day, you guys all get some sleep. So they let us set up camp, they let us lay down, and about an hour later, they woke us all up. I see some knowing looks up here in the Veterans Gallery. They woke us all up, had us pack up camp, drove us in trucks, dropped us off 4 miles away, told you, and this is a personal dig at the chief here, the helicopters dropped you off in the wrong spot. Camp is 4 miles that way, go. You know, I was initially glad that we weren't going to have to go on the march because I was so tired that we ended up doing it anyway. We all made it back, and I learned that I can keep going, even when my mind and my body tell me I can't. This lesson has proved invaluable when I faced hardships during and after my military career. Second is public speaking. Before my time in the Army, I absolutely hated standing in front of people. I'd get so worked up and nervous about it that even the day before, I'd be unable to eat. The Army forced me to practice my public speaking constantly. Whether it was leading my initial fire direction center of 4 soldiers or speaking in front of a battalion of almost 500 soldiers, I gained confidence in my abilities and the nervousness stopped. Well, most of it anyway. Being able to walk into a volatile situation and communicate confidently, for those of you who are in my DARE class, stand up straight, speak with appropriate volume, and make eye contact. It's incredibly important in my career as a police officer. If I can communicate effectively in these situations, I can usually diffuse a situation with only my words and my presence. If I fail to communicate effectively, then these situations can spiral out of control, causing me to use physical force to bring it under control. Thankfully, usually my words are enough, and I credit the military with giving me that skill. I thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'll now turn the podium over to the Chief.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you for inviting us here today, and definitely thank you to all the veterans who are seated here at Littleton High School for your service and sacrifice to your country. I just want to take a moment to remember those brave men and women who aren't here today, and also those individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that they protected our freedom so that we're able to have all of the rights and freedoms that we enjoy today. As noted in the introduction, I joined the Army back in 1986. I enlisted with 14 other fellow classmates, fellow seniors. And less than 24 hours after receiving my diploma on this stage, I was getting screamed at in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and that was a real blast. But I was very fortunate to proudly serve in a number of different theaters and capacities as a helicopter crew chief. My first assignment was in Columbia, South Carolina, and I worked in a program called Military Assistance to Safety in Traffic. And we did medevac missions for the entire state. And it was a great experience. And then I moved on to the Korean Peninsula, where I did my same duties, but worked as in an aircraft recovery team. And that was my first real experience with the demilitarized zone, and actually landing in there and really experiencing the difference between the good and evil, and people who have rights and people who don't have those freedoms. And then after that, I moved on to other assignments, such as the 10th Mountain Division, where I worked in support of Operations Just Cause and Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I started my service in the Cold War, and it ended in the advent of the War on Terrorism. My military service prepared me for the future as well, Sergeant indicated. And it gave me the opportunity to pursue studies in criminal justice with Central Texas College. But it also taught me lessons in life and supported those of my parents, like duty and honor. Be responsible. Be on time. Always give 110% and never quit, because those road marches go on and on and on. Dedication and persistence always pays off. Pay attention to detail, because in a crew chief, when you're flying in an aircraft that you're responsible for, or in law enforcement, if you don't pay attention to detail, it could result in death or serious bodily injury. It also helped me gain some humility, and understand humanity from a different perspective. Many of my peers in law enforcement, and actually in the first responder community, have served in the armed forces. At the Littleton Police Department, we have volunteers and officers that have served in the Vietnam War, both peace, the Cold War, Iraq, and Afghanistan. We're all drawn to this career because of our paramilitary background and structure. Our weapons training, first aid, understanding discipline, understanding policies and procedures helped in making us successful in law enforcement. Most importantly, we learn that duty and sacrifice for our country parallels the law enforcement mission. That mission is community service and protection. Once again, Sergeant Gardner and I would like to thank Littleton High School, the National Honor Society, Mrs. Ward, Mrs. Carbonell, for having us here today. We are very humbled for having this opportunity to speak as representatives for the veterans that are seated here today. In closing, military service is a great educational opportunity to gain the necessary training and experience to achieve your career goal. But in doing so, you have a great opportunity to serve this nation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Piet, and I'm a senior here at Littleton High School, a second-year member of the National Honor Society, and this year's treasurer. Veterans Day has a message that everyone should take home, and it is the message that has been shown in this assembly today. Veterans in our community risk everything to fight for the freedoms that we have in our country. They risk more than just their lives in fighting for our country and keeping our freedoms. Every time each of these soldiers went onto a battlefield, they went in knowing that they would never see their families and friends ever again. Each of them knew that each step they took could be their last. Knowing this and still being willing to fight for the freedoms that we have as Americans is something that is so special about our veterans. While on the battlefield, they know that their family is being affected at the same time. Imagine being the significant other or the child at home in bed wondering if their service member is going to come back alive. Each veteran has done something extraordinary, whether they served for 1 year or their entire lives, whether on the ground or in the air. They all spent countless hours fighting for the country that they cherish so greatly and the country that has all the freedoms that we enjoy today. Without the veterans here with us today and those all over the world, we wouldn't be living with the same freedoms that we all enjoy today in this country. Remember to say thank you to our veterans today, on Veterans Day this Saturday, every Sunday, and every day. Without all the sacrifices that they have made to our country, we wouldn't be living with the freedoms that we do in this country. Recognize the time, effort, and sacrifice these veterans have done so you can enjoy and appreciate the life that you have today. Without them, we will never be able to have the opportunity to make our own decisions or stand with pride when saluting the flag. Thank you.
The LHS DVMS Band and Chorus will now perform Pride of America. Veterans, please stand when your service branch is called and your anthem is played. United States Army. States Navy. United States Coast Guard. United States Air Force.
Good afternoon. My name is Jenna Doucette, and I am a junior and a first-year member of the National Honor Society. We are honored today to be in the presence of our hometown servicemen and women. In our local community, we love to celebrate the veterans who served our country. We take the time to honor and celebrate those who put themselves in harm's way to protect us. In our school community, however, we don't take the opportunity to do this as often as we should. Of course, we show our teachers our love and appreciation for what they do, but students and other staff members may be unaware of those who have served our country who work in our schools. In our school district, there are 11 employees who have served, and in our building, there are 9 courageous men and women who have military service history. When I say your name, please stand to be recognized. Jeremy Brown, United States Coast Guard, Cadet. Greg Fillion, United States Army, platoon leader and field artillery unit. Pamela Abbott, United States Navy, machinist unit. Carl Anderson, United States Army, instructor safety. Fred Diagnolt, United States Navy. Louis Babbitt, United States Army, military police. Ray Tuck, United States Navy, radio man. Jeffrey Howard, United States Army, National Guard, Lieutenant Colonel. Jeff Whitcomb, United States Navy, Special Operations Combatant Crewman. Wayne Fenimore, United States Army Recovery Specialist. And there have been many more. However, to those of you we see every day, we would like to express our heartfelt thanks for your hard work and dedication that you have given to not only to our country, but to us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Austin Hastings. I am a Littleton High School junior and a first-year member of the National Honor Society. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of our veterans. I have for you today a compilation of messages and thank yous from my fellow students here at LHS. A few weeks ago, we sent out a survey to all of our students, asking them a couple questions about this assembly. These messages that I'm going to be reading you are their responses that we figured we'd read for you today. So the first question was, I am thankful to veterans because, and then the students would finish the sentence. Our students are thankful to veterans because they helped in the cause of keeping our country safe and protecting the liberties I take for granted. They defended our country and allowed us to be the free people that we are as citizens of the United States of America. They fought for us to maintain our freedom and to keep our country safe. They fought for us and deserve a lot of respect for putting their lives on the line for our country. Their efforts have kept this land safe and preserved our liberties and freedoms. Their selfless acts deserve great amounts of honor and respect. They dedicate their entire lives to making sure we have good ones. Not only do they risk their own lives. The next question was, if you could tell a veteran something, what would you say? Our students responded with, I consider you to be very admirable and should be looked up to. Whether you chose it or not, I think that it's always a life or death choice being a veteran. I think that many people want to thank you for how much you've done and will do for us. Thank you for your sacrifice and selflessness to give people that you do and don't know safety and security. Thank you so much for protecting, supporting, and caring for our country. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate them and wish them the best for the rest of their lives. Thank you. For the final question, though there are many, many thoughtful responses, there was one student comment that really stuck out and I really felt like reading for you today. This was that response. Veterans surround us. They could be the cashiers in a supermarket or the janitor in a school. They deserve to hear thank you so much more often. And so, I would like to thank you all for coming today and thank you for your service. Have a great day. God bless you and God bless America.
Hello, my name is Kylie Williams. I am a senior in LHS, a second-year member of the National Honor Society, and the Society's secretary this year. As a part of our ceremony, I would like to read you a poem titled Thank You Veterans by Jamie Bedore. Thank you, veterans of the red, white, and blue. Our heroes who defend America, we proudly salute you. You are the rock and foundation, the reason America is a proud and free nation. Thank you, veterans, for answering your country's call. America owes you for your gift of freedom to us all. Thank you, veterans, for putting your life on hold, so another can be born and we can have a chance to grow old. Thank you, veterans, for sacrificing your life to guarantee our freedoms so that we can live in liberty. You are America's voice. Because of you, we have the option to make a choice. Thank you, veterans, for being brave and taking a stand, keeping us safe here on our homeland. You make the difference for the world to see that you paid the price for the freedom that isn't free. Thank you, veterans, for all you've done. Your duty, honor, and commitment is how freedom is won. You are the proud, the brave, and the few, not just today, but every day. America salutes you. Each of us owes a great debt of gratitude to all veterans here and around the world for their dedication and their valor. Your hard work and sacrifices don't go without notice. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sofia Mendez,
time, I would like to welcome Superintendent and my awesome dad, Dr. Stephen Nylath, to the podium to offer a few words on this very special ceremony.
Those are hard acts to follow. As I was sitting there listening to all the previous speakers, a lot of themes emerge. They do every year: sacrifice, thanks, gratitude, service. Some of the things I'm going to say are probably a bit repetitive, but I think they're the themes that are important and that we need to hear again and again, and as we celebrate this special day. So, good afternoon, community of Littleton. We come together today to recognize and celebrate those individuals who served our country and helped to preserve our way of life. I want to begin with recognizing the work of those who made this event possible. Please join me in thanking our National Honor Society students, their sponsor Vanessa Sandville, our music program students, their teacher Chrissy Noyes, Connie Ward for reaching out to our community and working with our staff and students and organizing this event. I also want to acknowledge our JRTC for proudly being an inspiring part of this celebration. And of course, our custodial staff for their help in setting up this facility and getting everything ready for another performance tonight. Your work to make this special event for our community is appreciated. Upon my arrival in Littleton 2.5 years ago, I began to learn about the community and the values held by our citizens. It soon became apparent that this community is very patriotic, supportive of many public organizations and groups, each dedicated to the betterment not only of Littleton, but to the surrounding communities. I noticed those flags, Old Glory, proudly displayed around the town, especially on the Veterans Memorial Bridge on Cottage Street. Littleton struck me as a place that has a sense of history, sacrifice, and pride. It's a place that is forward-thinking, but remembers, recognizes, and honors its past. It's not surprising, then, that this community takes the time to come together each year to honor those who have served and are serving in our armed forces. As an educational organization, SAU 84 is proud to have you join us today to honor you and acknowledge your role in making so much of what we take for granted possible. Our students here today have learned a great deal about the history of our nation. They've had inspired teachers share with them the story of the United States of America from its birth some 242 years ago to the present. Many of us have heard from parents and relatives some of that history as well. So it's within that context that I ask all of us in attendance, especially our students, to look upon our honored guests as the embodiment not only of our history, but of our American ideals. These men and women are a big part of the story of the United States of America, a nation created with hope, sacrifice, and a vision for a better life for each generation going forward. Our grandfathers and grandmothers, generations removed from today, made what we all share today possible. The men and women we honor today kept that dream alive with their sacrifice and service. These individuals, in many cases, delayed their education to serve our country. These honored servicemen and women left behind family to answer the call from their nation. They sacrificed their personal way of life for some time to make our way of life possible. A famous president said many years ago, "The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here." And so it is today. And while I'm no Lincoln, and this isn't Gettysburg, I echo those famous words by paraphrasing, "Let us not forget what you did." As we consider Lincoln's famous words, I'm struck by his humility at a critical moment in the Civil War. Many historians have pointed to the Battle of Gettysburg as crucial to the preservation of the Union. Lincoln, by his own words, didn't set out to write a great speech that would be remembered as one of the finest examples of rhetoric in the history of the English language. He simply wanted to honor those who served. And so it is today in a time and a place far removed from Gettysburg. Our words alone cannot do justice to your service, to our great country. But our actions can. Let us all do our part to honor our distinguished veterans by being good citizens, by working hard, by making a better life for those around us, and most importantly, exercising our right to vote. A privilege not extended to many people around the world, but one our veterans have fought, sacrificed, and died to preserve. Thank you all for coming today. Please thank our honored guests if you haven't done so already after the celebration, and show them the respect they so richly deserve in the days that follow this event today. Thank you.
The National Honor Society would like to thank all the community members for joining us in our Veterans Day Ceremony. Thank you to Mrs. Ward and Mrs. Sandler for all their efforts in the planning of the celebration, and to Mrs. Norris for her wonderful work with the band and chorus. We would also like to extend a thank you to Lieutenant Colonel Gearhart and his junior ROTC cadets, as well as our guest speakers for their participation in our ceremony. In closing, we'd like to thank all the veterans here and across our nation for your unrelenting courage and dedication. Following the conclusion of the ceremony, we invite all veterans and their guests to join us in the cafeteria for refreshments. Please stand and remain standing for the retirement of the colors by the White Line JROTC, and please remain standing as our veterans exit.
Color guard. Halt. Order. Colors. Follow.